you mentioned your esports business, Ben, and I know y'all have done a couple of esports projects together or have really had a common interest in that. And I know nothing about esports except that people watch people watching people watch people play video games. And that's about all I know. And it kind of blew my mind when I first heard it. But now I'm actually really much more interested in it. I want to hear more about it and kind of how it connects to business and what, I don't know, just anything y'all want to share.
You want to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay.
You're the expert.
I'll go. Well, So
you better be. It's your business.
I do have a business in it. So
when you call Sweden, is that what he was?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. Actually, guys, I can't talk about this right now. I have to go call Sweden. So esports is the pursuit of competitive gaming. And I think really the first modern esport was probably StarCraft.
Yes.
I also want to clarify that it is not electronic sports games. So I've heard people, even when you've talked about esports, they think Madden, football.
Like FIFA or something.
Right, FIFA. Yeah.
Right.
But it's not that.
Well, those are one kind of esport. Like FIFA and Madden are esports.
By themselves, like you would say, oh, that's an esport because you're playing sports on there. Or
not because you're playing sports.
It's that's one game that can be played.
Yes, exactly right.
But the sport is playing video games.
Right, correct.
Competitively.
Yes.
Yes, competitively. Okay, sorry, keep going. So
no.
You said an example of one just now and I interrupted you.
So the first esport, the first game that was played at a high competitive level internationally, and that there were sort of accepted standards for determining who the best players were, was probably StarCraft. And World of Warcraft, I would say, has been a more popular game overall. I would say more people have played World of Warcraft than probably any other game ever. I don't have the stats on that. But World of Warcraft was never thought of as an esport because the structure of it is so loose. It's really hard. So World of Warcraft is a MORPG, which is a massively multiplayer online role-playing game, MMORPG, MORPG.
Nerd alert.
Right, exactly.
No, I'm just kidding.
Hello, everyone.
100%. Me too.
So it's because the sandbox is so big, it's really difficult to develop a fixed competitive structure within a world like that. But there are other games that have come out since then, and the most popular one is probably still League of Legends. A lot of people still play StarCraft, Dota 2, which Dota used to stand for Defense of the Ancients, and it was a mod on Warcraft 3. And then they developed a version of the game that was just its own thing. And that one is the one with the highest financial payouts. And then,
for the competition? Is that
right, for the large number of competitions. There are competitions for League of Legends, Dota 2, CSGO, which is Counter-Strike Global Offensive.
Are all of these like fighting games?
No, well...
Yeah, for the most part.
I mean, they're fighting,
strategy,
but not fighting like Street Fighter 2. It's not like martial arts.
But like GoldenEye?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, League of Legends
back on my N64 that I still have at home.
So Overwatch is probably the CSGO and Overwatch.
And that's your game, right?
Overwatch is the one I like
Tracer?
the most. Yeah, I like Tracer.
I'm learning.
Yeah, I like Tracer. And I have another account where I play main tanks, but that's a whole other conversation.
Oh. Cheap.
Yeah.
What is that? Why? Elaborate on that.
It's just really easy character to do really well.
Well, I don't know. Main tank with all the crowd control now, which is abilities where you can move people around.
That's a good point.
Main tanks are a lot harder to play now.
So what do you play, Bronte?
I don't actually play a whole lot of, esports type of games. I watch a lot of it.
Bronte is a big gamer, but not. I am a
big gamer,
games.
but not esports. Yeah.
So what are you? When you say you're a big gamer, what does that mean?
I play a lot of video games.
Like what? So what do you play, even if it's not an esports game?
I was literally playing GTA 5 today.
What is that?
Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay.
Like games like that.
I am familiar with that.
I really like
from an arcade.
These are the kinds of things you learn in the Maze MBA program. Grand Theft Auto.
How to steal cars. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so good at it.
Oh yeah.
Getting rid of the cops. Oh my gosh. But I really love RPGs, role-playing games. Okay. So The Witcher 3 is my literal favorite game of all time. And it's just a game where there's a fairly linear story, and you play as one character the whole time.
So those are video games that aren't competitive in the same way that
Correct.
esports are.
That's right.
Or they don't have the same build to be competitive in the way
Right.
that
So
esports
like The Witcher is not an online game. So you can't play against anybody else ever. It's just you playing against the game, I guess.
Do y'all remember that movie in the 80s? No, y'all are all probably too young. Okay, there was a movie, I think it was in the 80s, maybe early 90s.
No, I'm just kidding.
I don't even know what that is.
I'm just kidding.
No, but it was a kid that like ran away and he got in this video game competition. Gosh, I always forget
Is
the
it The
name of
Wizard?
The Wizard, I think.
Yeah.
Right? But it's a one-player game, but they had like a bunch
whoever
of different...
beat it fastest,
Right,
or whatever.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
It was so good, by the way, right?
It's a
I'm going to
good
have to
movie.
watch that one.
I'm pretty sure he stops at like a dinosaur museum too. Do you remember this?
I don't. What I
Well,
do remember is
it was
when
amazing.
they
That's all I'm saying.
unveiled Super Mario 3 in that movie.
Yes.
And
so then it had to have been in the later 90s.
It would have
Must have
been
been.
88,
If it was-
89, maybe 90.
Okay. Well, I beat regular Nintendo, like Mario Brothers on regular Nintendo pretty early on, and I was super cool. And then we couldn't, and that was like, I mean, I think my sister got really, really sick, and we had been begging for a Nintendo, and she got really, really sick, and my parents bought one for her. Not me, clearly, but
Note, kids, if you want your parents to buy you expensive
just get
stuff.
super sick. But because I mean, I've talked about this, we didn't have a lot of money, so like those kinds of things weren't happening, you know. But we never then could afford another console, so I didn't have any other. Like I babysat and played Super Nintendo, and then Ryan, when we got married, had an old N64, so we play Donkey Kong Racing. That's our New Year's Eve tradition.
It's a classic.
Nice.
It's good. I'm pretty good at some of them.
Well, and the thing is to be considered a gamer, you don't have to play something that's like
I don't have to
on
play-
a gaming computer.
I don't have to play anything on an updated console.
No, you truly don't. Like, you
Retro gaming is a total thing.
even that and apps on your phone. That's still gaming.
Give me some Pac-Man.
Totally. Or Snake. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
My
great.
my writing partner works for a company that they have one product. As far as I know, they have one product, and it's a mobile app, and they develop. My understanding is it's a MOBA, like, and we'll talk about what a MOBA is, but it's like League of Legends. And you just play online against people, and they have like new skins, which are like basically new cosmetic things. Like you can play the same character, but it looks like a little different. It's like a different outfit or a different haircut or whatever. And so they have downloadable content, and this company does really well. I mean, it's his full-time job, and he's one of many who work there.
Shannon, I have an esport that you may be very familiar with, Super Smash Brothers.
Yes, but I don't like Super Smash Brothers.
You don't have to like it. Just,
At all.
No, just kidding. Oh, gosh, I love that game.
My nephew is like, can we go play at Uncle Ryan's house and play Super Smash Brothers? I'm like, feel free. I don't want to do I just end up just sitting there. I'm like, just kill me. The other day we were playing with this little girl that is kind of like a niece to us, but I just kept falling off the castle. I was like, this is good. Like, does this make us die faster? Ryan's like, no, it's on time. I was like, oh, well, then I'll just stand here and let her kill me. It'll work.
It's so funny.
She loved it. She loved when I was flying off. She's sick. She loved when I was flying
I bet.
off the...
Nothing is
was
funnier
like,
than
"Hi, I
characters
made you
dying.
fall."
Yeah.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, sure you did.
Yeah, you made me push my joystick over that
you
way.
beat me again. So a MOBA is,
Okay.
and the most popular games right now are MOBAs of one kind or another. So there's Counter-Strike, which is a first-person shooter, and then a MOBA is multiplayer online battle arena. League of Legends is a MOBA. Dota 2 is a MOBA. Overwatch is kind of a mix of the two because it's a first person. You have only a first person perspective. You can't see everything that's happening around you unless you turn to look, and you can only see from one perspective. So one thing that happens at the pro level is it's a little challenging. what you really want, and Overwatch League found this out, you really want a third-person camera, because if you're doing first-person, it's so because part of being good at the game is always knowing everything that's going on around you, and is there going to be somebody coming from over there, and I checked 2 seconds ago, and they weren't there then, but they might be there now.
But in the one you said that's strictly first-person, they don't even have that?
Well, no, that's what they do. Like, that's what you have to do. Like, you have to look around all the time.
Yeah, but you don't have the third-person camera. I mean,
they do have it, but only for spectators.
Right. So
when you're playing,
players, they don't have it.
I mean,
correct.
So again, I'm gonna have to go back to GoldenEye because that's the only thing I know. But like in the corner, it has like little dots where people are.
There's no radar.
Don't have that.
No radar.
You have nothing like that when it's.
Yeah, radar has mostly gone away.
Well, I mean, I imagine it's much more sophisticated than that. But whatever it is, you don't have that. You literally have to turn and look like in real life.
Yeah, all you see are the players' like arms. In a first-person shooter. So that's all you can see is just from your perspective. So even turning around is, there's a lot there.
Right. And the thing that they do have that now, though, is sounds. And you wear a headset, and the games are really good about telling you when someone gets close enough. As long as they're running, you're quieter if you crouch, but you move slower too. But you can hear footsteps, and you can actually, once you've been playing the game long enough, you can tell who it is by what the footsteps sound like.
What character in the game?
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. And your most dangerous enemies, like if someone is doing really well on the other team, their footsteps they ramp up the volume on the footsteps a little bit, just to try and even it out a little bit. So the most popular games are the ones that are either MOBAs or some combination of a MOBA and like a first-person shooter type of game like GoldenEye. And I think the game that has the most formally developed competitive structure is probably Overwatch, because there's a league that's actually built like a sports league. They have teams that are tied to cities, rather than just tied to an investment group or whatever, and teams that picked their own name or whatever.
So go back to so some teams are tied to an investment group.
So in League of Legends, for example, there are teams. So the owner of the team, and I mean they can get input from the players and the coaches or whatever, but they can name the team whatever they want. So teams have names like Fnatic or G2 or CLG. And
do they recruit into the team like a football team would? Like an owner says, I want that player on my team, or how does all that work?
Yes, but it's professional rather than amateur. So you offer the player a salary that's competitive in the market. And for the most part, esports, most of the big money is in prize earnings rather than in salaries.
Okay.
So the players, the Overwatch League was also the first league to have, it's not a collective bargaining agreement, but it's minimum salaries. And so the owners have to be able to pay all their players at least this much money.
Or like they can't bring on another player or whatever.
Right. You can't have a team unless your financials are such that you can meet all of these standards.
Are there a minimum number of players on a team?
I think all the teams have at least 10.
There's some
but
minimum.
You can have more.
Yeah.
So how does an owner make money?
Well, they get profit sharing, revenue sharing. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the league makes money through ad revenue. And then all the owners, my understanding is because all the games are played, all the matches are played in the same arena, except for the championship, which was played at Barclays Center. They actually sold out Barclays Center. But other than that, all of the matches are played at the Blizzard Arena in Burbank. So you don't get like a gate at your home stadium because so far there aren't any home games. Like everybody's playing in the same place, and they have 3 matches per day, Wednesday through Saturday during the season. And so
this is fascinating.
It is, right?
So, okay, hold on.
So all the revenue streams through the league.
Okay,
is the answer to
but
your
these
question.
matches are in person, even though these are computer games. I mean, they're
at that level
when they're professional. Yeah, I mean, so everyone's actually in a room together. Even though you could be across the world, amateurs play across the world from each other.
Yes.
But in these professional matches, it's all in the same room.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, but like for Overwatch, they create maps just for the people in the league right then. Is that correct?
There's...
Or do they play existing?
I think normally, so when a map gets released,
This is
will,
like a world or something.
Yeah,
within,
the area that you're playing against each other.
So it's like a different, like it'd be a different maze or something.
Yeah.
It's something like
exactly.
that.
Yeah, different maze.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's all the world from a macro perspective is a near Earth future, near future Earth.
Okay.
And it's very like one of the big selling points for Overwatch, I think, is that it's very bright. Like a lot of times in gaming, the worlds you'll see are kind of dark, kind of dystopian. Overwatch sort of presents a very hopeful perspective on things. One of the taglines,
so that you can then go in and kill each other.
Yeah.
One of the taglines is the world could always use more heroes.
Yes.
Oh.
But yes.
Okay, so you're fighting for good.
Yeah. Well, not everybody is. But,
Well, yeah, I mean, or you wouldn't have anyone to fight, I guess.
Right.
in theory.
But and there's kind of an interesting backstory to it. But one of the interesting things is that the story is almost entirely separate from the actual gameplay.
Okay. So what is the 30-second premise? Why am I playing? Not why am I playing? What's the world? Give me the context of the world. Why are we fighting in this world or whatever?
So in the story, I'll just describe it the way that Winston describes it in the opening cinematic, which is that 30 years ago, the Omnics, which were a race of intelligent robots, declared war on humanity. And humanity eventually turned to this group of kind of misfit fighters that had these different abilities to end the Omnic crisis, and Overwatch was born out of that. And then the war was over, and they were sort of like the X-Men in that people didn't really understand them well or whatever, or what they were. And Overwatch was disbanded as a result of that. And there was another organization called Blackwatch that was sort of the darker underbelly of Overwatch, so to speak. And some of the people that were involved with that were not necessarily the most good or ethical. And now the idea is that those two organizations have sort of been waiting for the call to come back and then I guess do battle against each other again. But the funny thing is, and this plays to how the gameplay has really very little to do with the story. The lore is really cool, but once you get into the game, you can put Overwatch and Blackwatch characters together on a team. Okay. It's really just
you can break kind of the rules of the story.
Right. There's nothing requiring you to play like good guys versus bad guys, so to speak. You're just putting together the team that you feel like can win on this map.
Got it.
Against what the enemy team is playing. Okay. And switching heroes mid-fight is a big part of the gameplay, which is not the case in any other esport that I'm aware of.
Yeah, exactly.
So changing from Tracer to, Roadhog, who is much slower and 3 times her size and throws a hook to like grab people on the enemy team and bring them close so you can shoot them.
So there's a time when that's important.
Right. Exactly right. Okay. So that's Overwatch. And esports more broadly, I think, is something that's definitely going to keep getting bigger. I mean, it's serious stuff at this point, and a lot of the organizations are owned by sports teams, professional teams in traditional sports. Okay. So Mark Cuban owns an esports team, and the Golden State Warriors own an esports team, and a lot of NBA teams specifically have gone that direction.
So how does the city competition, like the city teams you mentioned with one of the games, how does that work?
Well, so even though all of the Overwatch League teams, all of the players lived in LA during the season and they played in Burbank, all of the games except the championship match were played at the Blizzard Arena in Burbank. I think the idea long term is that the teams would do home and home competitions once they have stadiums in their individual cities, that it can actually be, no, we're going to go watch the London Spitfire because we're from England and they're the London team, and they're, the New York Excelsior are coming to town, and we're going to go root for the home team. As it is right now, the infrastructure is not in place yet, but I think the vision is to have broader appeal from the same geographic thing that creates appeal for traditional sports teams.
And I guess to an extent, you can't use existing stadiums because you said Wednesday through Saturday, these competitions are running. So it's not like you can use the Toyota Center that the Houston Rockets play in because the Houston Rockets are using, or it has concerts, or what it's used.
Right.
Is that
and for a normal match, so for the championship match, they went to the Barclays Center. Yeah. But for a normal match, the stadiums are just too big. The Blizzard Arena probably seats right
someday.
Now. Yes.
Yeah.
The Blizzard Arena probably seats between 1,000 and 2,000 would be my best guess.
Okay.
So and I've been to a match. I went to LA in April, I want to say, and went to an Overwatch League match.
And they're broadcasting this, so there's millions of people watching it, even though there's thousands of people
streaming
live.
it.
So. And that's where the money actually is.
Right.
It's just like in traditional sports. In the long term, everything is TV and
and
streaming.
Probably the bigger. If more people went, it's kind of like what the NFL is struggling with right now. I'd rather watch it at home. It's easier. If you're going to have 100,000 people in there, I don't want to park and I don't want to be around them, and it's boring. And you do a lot more fun things on TV for me. And so
right.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So, I'm trying to think what else there is on esports.
I think you pretty much got it all. That was a really good overview.
Oh.
Nice job.
It all happened by accident. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to stay up to date on our latest videos, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to receive notifications. If you're in a rush or on the road, you can still join us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts. If you want to learn more about us or our guests, please visit our website at mays.tamu.edu/podcasts. Also, please check out Mays Business School's academic programs. They're the sponsors of our show, and you can find them in the description. Thanks, and gig 'em.